Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the AEW review for the 30th of January. I'm sorry, 30th of June, 2021. Not a bad show, but at the same time, actually one of the better shows they've had. Although returning to the normal Wednesday time slot, I think, has helped that a good bit in the sense of the value that is and was their normal time slot, and I do think that there is at least a certain level of respect that comes along with that whole process. Jericho is on commentary. I don't necessarily agree with that. Maybe they're just trying to make it different or kind of reestablish their press point here. Anyway, Eddie Kingston and Penta with Alex Abrahamis defeat the Young Bucks. Matt and Nick Jackson with Brandon Cutler. A lot of people said this is a good opener. I didn't particularly care for it. But then I'm not really a fan of the Bucks, as I've mentioned here many times before. Kingston and Penta, if they win, get a title shot in the future. They've fought before. And Penta hit the diving drop kick to the backside of Matt. And then he goes for the Fear Factor DDT. Matt shoves him into the wrong corner and takes control with a cannonball enziguri. Too many spots, even this early in the match. Penta slides to the outside, hits a tilt-a-whirl backbreaker on Matt before taking out Nick with a diving crossbody, and then Kingston goes kind of nuts on this whole process. Bucks hit a fisherman suplex, or Kingston does, on Nick for a near fall. Then Kingston gets pulled to the floor, takes out Matt with a secondary suplex. Kingston gets nailed with a soccer kick, and then Bucks hit a double splash on Kingston on the floor, hit a spray down from Cutler. Bucks beat down Kingston with pretty frequent tags. Then they hit kicks to Kingston's back. Kingston fires up and lays in some chops. Bucks then overwhelm Kingston with a number of advantages and hit a cheap shot on Penta on the apron. Kingston fights out a double team and leaves Nick standing on the top rope. He lands a bunch of headbutts, and Nick gets taken down with a superflex. Reaches Penta for the hot tag, and then Penta uses a Cazadora to propel himself into a DDT before the code red, and gets a near fall here. And then looks like a mistake. Matt doesn't get his shoulder up in time. Matt fights out with Fear Factor, tags Nick in, who comes up with a springboard Rana. Nick then goes for a running bulldog, but Penta fights out and hits a German, and Penta hits a backstabber for the near fall. Matt breaks up the pin. Matt then takes out Kingston with a crossbody on the ramp. Penta then and Nick exchange strikes in the ring. Then there's a super kick, and Nick hits a low blow. Then the official doesn't see it. Bucks go after the diving Fear Factor finisher. Kingston breaks up the pin just in time for a near fall, and then Kingston hits an exploder on Nick, but then there's some super kicks, and they take him out. Penta backdrops Nick to the floor, and Good Brothers distract the official. Penta avoids Cutler's cold spray and sprays Matt instead. Kazarian comes out and then takes out Cutler. Penta then takes out everyone with a helo to the floor and a Fear Factor and spinning back fist, allowing them to get the win. Kingston and Penta do give some credit to Kazarian post-match. Christian Cage and Jungle Boy are backstage. Christian said he's proud of Jungle Boy and that he then takes him out in the blink, or took him to the brink, and then Jungle Boy is about to be champion, but first he's going to have to become the first AEW wrestler to get 50 wins. Luchasaurus and Marco Stunt appear, and they thank Christian for having Jungle Boy's back, and Luchasaurus now has Christian's back. This is kind of goofy. Why does Christian need Luchasaurus' help with anything? Anyway, Ethan Page is interviewed by Tony Schiavone. Men of the Year, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page are in the ring. Page is about to speak. He chooses a coffin match, but is drowned out by boos, telling the crowd to, in fact, shut up. He's a great heel. He eventually says that what he's doing is not enough. Page's goal is to exterminate Darby Allin. Allin then keeps coming back on all these bumps, and crippling him physically isn't enough of an option anymore. The coffin match is going to cripple Allin mentally, and then every time Allin thinks about doing a coffin drop, he's going to think of Page. Sting's music interrupts, and he comes out with a coffin. Video then plays of Allin torching a coffin. Allin pops out and attacks Men of the Year. Sting hits Scorpion Death Drop on Sky, and Allin gouges at Page's eyes. Page rolls to the floor and says Allin knew he couldn't beat Page at 100%. Page wants it in writing that Allin won't touch him ahead of the coffin match, which originally was supposed to be next week, but it doesn't come out that way. Before the match, Matt Hardy said he's sending Evans after Jungle Boy for stepping in Hardy's business. He doesn't care if Evans wins or loses, just hurts Jungle Boy. If you cross Hardy, you have to pay. This is Jungle Boy's 50th win in AEW, the most in company history. 50 matches in 2 years is a reasonably easy schedule compared to what guys used to have to go through. But the flippy-floppy stuff takes more out of the body. Anyway, chain wrestling early to start. Jungle Boy surprises Evans with a snare trap, but Evans quickly reaches the ropes. Evans then comes back with a leaping kick, but Jungle Boy turns around and gets an arm wringer with a rebound arm drag and a nip up right before the break. Jungle Boy hits a series of offense, including a drop kick, a lariat, and catches a spinning kick from Evans. They fight on the top rope. Evans then slips out. Jungle Boy flips out of the German suplex and attempts to lock on the snare trap for the win, and does. And after the match, Hardy Family Office runs out. Christian and Jurassic Express make the save. Christian hits the reverse DDT on Hardy in the ring and chokes him out with the straight jacket, or with his suit jacket, rather. Evans tries to get involved. Christian fights him off as well. AEW is returning to Daly's Place on August 4th for television. A special called Homecoming. Excalibur said it's the last time they'd be in Daly's Place for a long time. Why are they coming back in August? They must have had trouble finding a venue anyway. MJF addresses Chris Jericho. He says he's outclassed Jericho week after week, and both in the ring and on the mic. He told Jericho to call it quits and listed all of Jericho's transgressions against him. Jericho used to be so cool, and now he's a joke. Next week, he'll announce the list of stipulations that will get Jericho one last match with MJF. In the meantime, MJF is going to take his anger out on Guerrero. People have wanted to see this match for a long time and find out who the future of professional wrestling is, and tonight they'll say Guevara is the future because MJF is the now. I'm better than you and you know it. Good promo, awesome promo by MJF. He's probably one of the best in the company, if not one of the best in the U.S. Andrade is interviewed by Alex Abrahamis, and then he talks about Matt Sydal interrupting him last week and proposed they faced each other in Miami at the Road Ranger show. And Kenny Omega is brought out next by Schiavone. He says, like the rest of the Elite, he kind of is looking scruffy and ridiculous at this point. He talks about how he stays motivated every day. Today he woke up feeling like a king because he's defeated all the biggest stars in AEW, and now the top young star in Jungle Boy last week. He said nobody's left and he's going to take some time off. Dark Order interrupts. Evil Uno says he thinks Omega has a challenger. Omega is dismissive. Uno says he's right because no one in Dark Order has enough singles wins, but he has somebody in mind, the number one singles ranked competitor in all of AEW, implying but not mentioning Hangman Page. Omega says that Page wouldn't appreciate Uno speaking for him. They really have to get Page away from the Dark Order if they really want Page to get over. Anyway, and then he doesn't have the guts to do this on his own. He doesn't think it's right to take this belt, and Omega does the goodbye and goodnight ending, and Page does not make his way out there. Brian Pillman Jr. is backstage. He tells Miro to forgive him for not believing the same things as him because he didn't have a lot of faith growing up. Pillman says he's going out there to prove that Miro is nothing but a bully, and other various less than G-rated insults. Anyway, so TNT Championship match. Miro defeats Brian Pillman Jr. Dominant win for Miro, but Pillman gets enough where he doesn't look horrible. Pillman goes right after Miro at the start, but Miro turns the ripcord into a Samoan drop. Miro beats Pillman down with strikes and throws. Pillman has a couple of strikes, but is crushed with a fallaway slam for his trouble, leading to, in fact, a commercial break. And once back, Miro lands about almost 10 strikes, and Pillman counters with the actual 10th. Springboard dropkick from Pillman sends Miro to the floor, followed by a running dropkick. Pillman keeps up the fight on the floor and hits a bunch of strikes. Springboard clothesline by Pillman when they get back into the ring. Miro kicked out at barely a 1 count, kind of killing his offense indirectly, but not necessarily meaning to. Miro counters another springboard, but he lands a bunch of thrust kicks. Miro hits his signature high kick, and then a second one calls for the game over, and leading to a chokeout referee stoppage. Hangman Page is upset with the Dark Order. He asked if they thought he was scared of Omega. Colt Cabana says he thinks he's scared of failure. John Silver says win or lose, we'll always have your back, and they hyped him up. Alex Reynolds says this is your time, so they're all being supportive of their friend Page. I don't think I would be as bothered if the goofy masked guys weren't in there. Anyway, Chaz is backstage with Hobbs and Hook, and he said Brian Cage and Ricky Stark weren't here, and that it's been rough on them on July 14th. They're going to get it figured out. Cage defends the FTW Championship against Starks, who is medically cleared by that date. Dr. Britt Baker, DMD, and Rebel defeat Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. This is the worst match of the night. Guerrero gets in Rebel's face with the excuse me deal before the bell. Baker takes her out with the process. Rebel goes for the sleeper on Rose and fights out easily. Rose beats her down, and then Rebel is in the ring ahead of the commercial break. Once back, Rebel rolls out and rolls Rose up for 2. Baker makes tag, hitting a sling blade, and then Rose goes for a beast bomb, but Baker flipped and kicked Rose down. Baker gets the glove, but Rose hits a big choke slam. Rose drops Baker over the ropes and hits a diving knee, but Rebel breaks up the pin. Guerrero then tags in, and Rose is on the top rope, but Baker pushes Guerrero into Rose, sending her to the floor. Baker locks in the lockjaw on Guerrero, leaving for the trouble, and ultimately Rose attacks Baker after the match and hits a beast bomb. Guerrero sets up a table, and Rose powerbombed Britt Baker threw it to the floor. Not a fan of this. Britt Baker deserves better, and she is a better talent than wasting time in a secondary feud with Nyla Rose. Next week's lineup for the Road Rager show: Tag Team Champions Young Bucks against Eddie Kingston and Penta for the championships. Strap match: Cody Rhodes, QT Marshall, Andrade versus Matt Sydal. Inner Circle: Hager, Santana Ortiz, Pinnacle, Wardlow, Harwood, and Wheeler. Orange Cassidy and Chris Statlander versus the Blade and the Bunny, and Jericho and MJF in a face-to-face standoff. Haven't we had enough promo segments between them two? Anyway, Jake Hager says every time the Pinnacle sees them, two things happen. One, they get their tails whooped, and two, they get their tails whooped again. Santana said they'd get their hands dirty, and it's going to feel so much sweeter knowing FTR brought the fight that they can, and they're going to have Konnan in their corner. Ortiz says, "You messed up." And then we go to the main event, MJF defeating Sammy Guevara. Match is really good. And so, certainly a styles clash that works out. MJF runs the floor right away, takes down Guerrero with a shoulder tackle, and then taunts him. Guerrero evades with a taunt of his own, and then they go after each other, and they scout each other. Quick counters. MJF hits a cross chop to Guerrero's throat. Guerrero comes back with a knee strike. MJF catches him with the GTH. A bunch more chain wrestling, and then a bunch of cradles for near falls, forcing a break into a stalemate. And for opening sequences, this was really good. Guevara attacks in the corner, but official tries to break it up. MJF uses the distraction to poke Guerrero in the eyes. Guerrero fights back, goes for the senton, but MJF once again rolls the floor. Guerrero pushed and gets back in the ring. Double springboard cutter for a near fall. MJF sweeps out Guerrero's leg on the apron, sends him to barricade the floor, and then Guerrero hurt his knee. Leads to a commercial break. Guerrero goes for the baseball slide. MJF catches him with the ring skirt and attacks Guerrero and hits a power bomb, and then MJF goes back into the ring, but he gets a power bomb of his own, turns it into a near fall. They fight on the top rope. Guevara hits the Spanish fly, makes a comeback with clotheslines and an enziguri, followed by a diving kick. Guevara clotheslines MJF to the floor and skin the cat and hits a dive to the outside. Guevara hits a destroyer for the near fall. Leg trap cradle from Guevara, gets another near fall, and Guevara over the top rope grabs the chair. Guevara drops the chair into MJF's face, knocks him into the stands, and then follows up with a top rope senton into the barricade, into the audience, and amazing flexibility and pretty high risk. Anyway, Guevara eventually rolls MJF back into the ring, goes for the 630 senton. MJF comes up and pushes Guevara down on the ropes, follows up with a second pile driver for a near fall. MJF clutches his knee. MJF eventually makes it to his feet, and he cradles Guevara for a near fall. MJF goes for the heat seeker, but Guevara pushes his way out of it. Sunset flip leads to another cradle, and Guevara hits thrust kicks, and then they go to hospital, but MJF's foot's on the ropes. Guevara goes for the 630 once again, but MJF begs off. Guevara hits it anyway for another near fall. Shawn Spears comes out. Jericho is on commentary, runs to cut him off. Wardlow attacks Jericho from behind, distracts the official. Spears nails Guevara with a chair shot to the head. MJF makes a cover for the win. The show closes with a video package of the big moments from the Daily's Place era during the pandemic of Dynamite. It was nice and a cool way to close the show. Overall, a better than average show for this particular brand.